You may not know, or you do know, but we just want to thank Dane DuPont and Philip Long for their help and collaboration with us. We were asked to come with a solution, so they're here to help us with our solution to this.
Right. Thank you guys for having us. We're honored to be able to speak here. We'll make this pretty quick. So what we tried to do is we looked outside of the scope of the DLNR study. The DLNR study that was scoped in to look 10 miles from Pohoiki, 10 miles to the south. So we looked more towards the north along the new lava formations and stuff like that. And we found a few interesting spots, especially after sitting down with Uncle Michael Trask and hearing his mana'o about the spots that he would potentially like to see. So with that, we had a little bit of criteria that we place upon ourselves. So the first and foremost one is it needs to be public land. We can't wait for some kind of land acquisition of private land or anything like that. Also cannot wait for things like conservation zoning. So like Kakepa, that's zone conservation currently. That's a problem when it comes to like EIS and stuff like that. So then there's...
Yeah, we're going to kind of split up what we're talking about here. So there's all kinds of criteria. The next one that we put in is a big encompassing one, environmental and cultural impact, right? There's some special ecological places like Ka'akepa are very unique ecologically. There's no places quite with that ecology on the coastline. We've also heard there's a lot fewer of these green places left, right? We're gonna go and destroy some old place so we have bare land right up to the side. So cultural impact, places have been used by people today, in the past, historically. We might have burials around. In general, we're kind of opposed to looking on old land.
Right. We also took into consideration the study itself when they proposed how much the cost of restoring Pohoiki was due to the sand. And then they proposed the cost of putting a boat ramp into Malama Flats. We then considered that whatever proposal that we are going to come up with needs to be somewhat competitive. We can't be adding a zero to the costs that could be done elsewhere. So we want to be cost efficient in this whole thing. And that includes like supporting infrastructure, so like roads that are able to accommodate boat trailers and stuff like that, water lines to be able to get the boats clean after they come out of the water. Stuff like that needs to be taken into account.
The next thing is that the boat ramp is at some point going to be impacted by a future eruption, right? When that happens, we don't know. It may be that we're lucky, we 6 or 50-year average, 50 years till lava comes in the area. But when lava does come down, there is a new barrier. The new flow from 2018 is forming a big funnel, and it funnels any flow that would want to go east from there back towards Pohoiki, the old boat ramp, into that low spot. So anything you put there has got a limited lifetime, at least volcanically, whereas you can go 100 yards onto the new flow, 60 feet higher. I know that height is consideration. That's an extra complication for the designers. But you save yourself all of that threat. You're basically talking about building a structure that might last 200 years instead of 50 or 40 or 30, right? If you're going to invest that much money in it, we're talking 10, 15, 20 million dollars, put it in a place like covered in lava within the next 20, 50 years.
Right, and then also we have to take into the consideration of the boaters. Where do they want to put their boats in the water? Where is not suitable, where is? So that type of thing. It is a boat ramp. Their considerations have to be key in this whole thing. So, and then the final little thing is just the unknowns. So there's plenty of unknowns still. There's still sand. The entire area is settling. Miles of coastline slowly sinks. The environmental impact statement is a giant concern when it comes to time. A complicated EIS would mean that the ramp is delayed for years potentially.
Yeah, so as far as the sand goes in particular, I mean, we don't know how much more sand is out there. We know there was a lot of sand produced during eruption. We don't know how much is going to keep being produced by erosion of that shoreline. The seasonal variations as well, we know that sand is going to be an issue through there, right? So that's an unknown for Pohoiki boat ramp, for the old boat ramp. No matter what you do as far as trying to solve that, you just don't know what's going to happen in the future as far as it's a big unknown, and that, to us, translates to cost. Settling. We know that there's concerns about the actual new lava flows settling, right? We do have bathymetry maps that are out there, that we have data from USGS, from the Nautilus survey, that can help us address this actual issue, right? There's the surveys doing it on top of the land. However, we know that certain areas right by Pohoiki were shallow before, right? We have the surf breaks were right there. We know how shallow that land was. The rock on top of there is on a stable shelf. That land was also sinking. Everywhere along Puna Coast is going to sink. It's always going to be an issue no matter where you are. It's just a matter of managing that. And for that reason, we think we should plan for anywhere we put this boat ramp for it to actually be able to sink over the next 20 years or so, like we saw happen in front of dead trees. So settling is another one of these unknowns. Land use, you mentioned before, as far as conservation and all that kind of thing, right? How people are using it past and present.
All right, so this is just a rough cutout of the Pohoiki ramp post-2018 eruption, and I think this was March. And this just shows the beach formation and then the new lava formation that wrapped around Pohoiki boat ramp. It's really hard to see, so we'll go to the next. Yeah, so this is kind of a concept that we've come up with. We've proposed two options here. They're both near Pohoiki. They both are on state land. They are able to minimize the environmental impact statement because this is all new land formed in the 2018 eruption that is offshore of the old coastline even. The access to supporting infrastructure is there. The option one is only a few hundred yards from Pohoiki, the current ramp. It's cost efficient. The reason why it's cost efficient, and we have an idea on the estimate, is we basically took the study that was done by Sea Engineering and we used their concept. So the boat ramp that they put at Malama Flats, we slightly modified without changing any of the dimensions and just put it back down. So, and then the parking lot is also the same size as the one that was proposed. So we're trying to keep it as close as possible so we have an idea on cost. So this is cost efficient compared to the Malama Flats, especially when you consider the EIS and the access on roads. So then protection from the next low-risk strip zone eruption.
Yeah, so I just wanted to add right now that we've put up here as two discrete options, right? But really, anywhere along that coastline is viable. You just have to find the right shore, what direction you want to face your channel, the right access, and the right conditions for building the ramp. That's what the engineers can do. So we put two discrete options, but really anywhere along there. The difference being, of course, the farther away you get from the old boat ramp, the more expense you get on the new road, and you may get to areas where the lava is actually piled up a lot thicker. So that's something to consider as well. As far as the lower rift zone impact, it's kind of hard to see the edge of the flow right there, but that's kind of what I was trying to describe before. Maybe you can point, Dane. The edge of the red line right there. So anything from the upper rift zone coming down is going to hit that barrier on the west side and funnel along that edge down to Pohoiki. And it's not quite as bad at Ka'akepa, but there's an issue there with that as well.
Yes, this is it.
Okay, so this is the new site that we're talking about, like pointing to
Yes. No, just let it go. So that's the Pohoiki boat ramp on the far side there. This is option one, we're calling the Shack's ramp, just because of the approximate area of what was there before. And this is the new bay that is formed. This is about 2,000 feet from the Pohoiki boat ramp, and that would be option two. But again, this whole is just a concept. It can go anywhere along there. We just took the proposed ramp option from Malama Flats, modified it very slightly, placed it back down. So all of that can be redone, re-engineered, and that's kind of the challenge for the actual engineers at that point. And you can see this whole coastline. You can see how kind of the sand accumulates on the south side, and on the north side, sorry. And then where we have the ramps actually in the little concept is they're a little bit tucked away from where the sand likes to accumulate. Can you point? Just gonna bring it up here in a second.
Yeah, so you can see that the top is option two, at the bottom is option one. Anywhere in between there, anywhere along that shore is viable, we think. We have noticed from the aerial imagery that in these little coves, including Pohoiki itself, you do get more sand accumulation on these east and north parts of the coves because the longshore current is slowing down, that's where it drops the sand. On the opposite side, it's always scooping the sand out, so you can actually have natural strategies in place in the ramp for to actually minimize how much sand accumulates, of course, no news to you.